Hi guys, Mars, this planet of action, decision making, forward momentum, and ultimately change, is going to square the planet Neptune. This is a planet that's often involved with what confuses us, what deludes us, where we're misinformed or can misinform others, even deceive others, but also have high vision. And that Mars square Neptune is a difficult aspect pattern happening in our sky, March the 12th through to about the 18th. But get this, we've had it before. This Mars moving through Gemini for an inordinate number of months, 7 months, has already squared Neptune in Pisces back in October on the 12th, and again on the 19th while Mars retrograded of November. And last but not least, this March 14th, 15th, 16th, it's going to be exact again. Now, this is an important last pass, and it's really critical for the world, and it's really critical for you in your life, depending on where the Pisces and Gemini parts of your whole sign house natal sky sit. Because this time, Saturn, the taskmaster, the lord of the real, the realistic, the tangible, is overseeing this last Mars square to Neptune, because now Saturn has joined Neptune in Pisces. This is a whole different quality. I think we're going to see an absolute sober-minded, realistic look at something collectively and as well in our own lives that we've been unable to pierce the veil and see through the fog. We're going to be talking about this archetypally. We're going to be diving into a couple of great books about this stuff. Liz Green and Archetypal Universe by Rand Butler in the beginning, and then we're going to do your sign. Now, first of all, before we even get there, you're probably wondering who I am. If you don't know me, my name is Lori Lothian. I am a whole sign house astrologer using the Hellenistic traditional techniques and tools. I also am a totally Western tropical. This is not sidereal or Indian astrology, just in case you're confused. Please check out everything I offer in my description box below the video. There's a button that says more. Click it. You'll see all of my things. My Sky Reader class is probably starting in April. There's a wait list. I'm going to open doors pretty soon. If you want to get into that class and you're interested in being your own astrologer and timing your best life, that's this kind of class. This is 8 weeks. It doesn't teach you to become an astrologer. It teaches you to be your own astrologer. As well, I have a whole bunch of mini classes. I teach one every single month. Go check out my website, check out my Learn Astrology section, go to my Patreon community, get all this content ad-free, ahead of the curve, $5 a month plus 2 Zoom meetings with me a month. And they're intimate and they're fun. So if any of those things interest you, in my newsletter, discount codes, weekly astrology news, a bunch of special things that nobody else gets, all the information for the stuff I do is below. All right. And like and subscribe and hit that notification bell. Please, it helps the channel grow. So let's get started and talk about these themes here at the big broad level. And now here's the thing. If you want to talk about Neptune, you can go all the way from enlightenment and unconditional love and high, like super, like mystical stuff, transcendent stuff even, all the way down to drug abuse and addiction. And then in the middle is like nebulous stuff like misinformation, disinformation, lying, deceiving, that kind of thing. And then Mars himself is kind of like just simply like, I got to take some action here. I got to make some decisions here. We got to get some momentum here. We got to do something. We got to push through with some personal willpower here. That's what Mars would say, right? But he's been squaring Neptune on and off since October. When I say October 12th, direct Mars square Neptune from Gemini, November 19th retrograde, this is like around those times, right? Give or take, 4 or 5 days on either side. We went through periods of time collectively and individually where there was some confusion about something or uncertainty or even purposeful obfuscation or misinformation floating around. In your own life, you might not tell somebody the truth. You might hide something. You may be waffling on a decision until the fog clears. You may have postponed or pulled back from certain decisions you had already made, like in October and pulled back in November. I'll use me as examples during this when we get to the all signs, because it helps to use people, and I know myself pretty well. Also, I would say that this is such a special time because as this happens, there's also going to be around the 17th, a Cazimi of Mercury in the heart of the sun. Now, to make it simple today, I'm not going to bring that into the story, but nonetheless, as Mars is peeking out in his square to Neptune, which is going to be the 14th, 15th, and 16th of the month. Then on the 17th, as he begins to pull away, Mars and Neptune begin to pull away from the perfected 25 degrees that they're each in. Then we also experience that Mercury in the heart of the sun still conjunct Neptune. There's almost some kind of divine intervention in the sky for us all around this time, because when Mars and Mercury is in the heart of the sun, co-joined with Neptune, and Mars is still in a waning square, we're in some kind of super powered, super clear, true communication. Because Mercury in Pisces can obfuscate and also deceive, but in the heart of the sun, he doesn't tell lies. He tells the truth. He's having the solar light of the divine shine through him. Look for some breaking news stories around St. Patrick's Day that are going to be very intense and dispel illusion and confusion about such things as Neptune and Mars themes, wars, pandemics, pandemic measures, drugs, drug companies, treatment, drug protocols, spy stuff, coming to light, whistleblowers. There's so many ways this can play out. Now, it's interesting to look at the Sabian symbol as well. The Sabian symbol, while Mars is sitting, is something like a winter frost, a cabin in a winter frost, or a winter frost, or something about a winter frost. But then also, more importantly to me, is that Neptune, who is going to be a big part of this square again, is sitting on a place that has to do with a new moon. And in terms of the Sabian, it reads, I'm going to read it to you because I'm not a Sabian expert, but these channeled symbols are meaningful. A new moon reveals that it's time for people to go ahead with their different projects, a movement forward. And that thing about a winter frost, or the time of the end of a winter frost, is almost like after some kind of uber chill, barrenness of a time of winter, we're moving into the new moon and we're planting new seeds collectively. And I'm looking at sabiansymbols.com to look at the write-up that they have. And there's such things as diversifying, applying talents in new directions, people splitting up and splitting off from each other, new opportunities and potentials, divorce, new jobs, directions, destinies, new eras. These are some of the write-up words, okay? Failing relationships. This is the shadow, I suppose, the fear and loathing of separation, not giving emotional support. So I want you to ponder some of that, because this is going to trigger the Sabian symbol at 26 degrees of Pisces. Even though the Neptune is at 25, you round up with Sabian symbols to the next degree. Now, one of the books that I really just love, okay, is Ren Butler's Archetypal Universe. Another book that I really just love is Liz Green's book on Neptune. So I'm going to start with Liz and then move to Ren Butler. Ren Butler is a teacher of mine, and I've studied archetypal astrology with him for 6 months, and he's a lovely guy. And if you want to take his class, I highly recommend it. I think he starts every October for a few months. And now, this is like a book that has lots of weight. Let me throw away the title book, Liz Green. Okay, this is like the original edition. I can't believe it. And I'm going to talk about participation mystique when it comes to this. When she talks about Mars, Neptune, one of the things that people say is black magic or religious fanaticism. Those are just classic, Mars, Neptune themes, or, mysterious, magical, alchemical, dark magic even. But here she talks about something that I think is important. And I would like to read it to you. I don't normally read on my channel, but I'm hoping that this will be all right with you, because it's really hard for you to memorize this. All right. So she's talking about the expulsion from the Garden of Eden and here, I'm going to read this to you, okay? Eden is a world without Mars, for anger and oneness are mutually exclusive. In paradise, animals do not eat one another, right? There's no war, there's no conflict, there's no munching down on the animals, nor is individual initiative the natural outgrowth of desire welcome in the garden. Because initiative, starting new things, that's Mars, right? Willpower, initiative. So that's not welcome in the garden. It's construed as disobedience, according to Lynn. Is that her name? Liz Green. The fusion is broken. The original sin is committed. An expulsion from the garden inexorably follows from this transgression. So then she says, basically, Mars Neptune will therefore seek to fulfill its desires while ensuring that no one is offended, because Neptune is representing kind of like the potential for the Garden of Eden or the high transcendence, right? And I want to keep going on this, because listen, Neptune's receptivity to collective feeling transforms Mars. Instead of the sluggish warrior of Homer's Iliad, Mars, emerges the subtle magician who understands the power of participation, mystique, and the enormous appeal of the word we. Mars Neptune can enter others into dreams and longings, expressing I want with such delicacy that it seems that everybody wants it. What did everybody want and then maybe not want in the last 2 years? I'm not going to answer that question because I don't want to get kicked off YouTube. What wars did everybody want and now maybe don't want? What health protocols did everybody want? Maybe now not only doesn't want, but things may have been not necessary or even damaging. So we're talking about participation mystique. You can also call it mass formation psychosis. I want with such delicacy, it seems that everybody wants. Okay. And then she says, in all these fields, she talks about psychology and therapy. She says, the ability to invoke participation mystique is necessary. So it's an interesting thought to me to think about Mars, the action, the initiative, the drive, and the will and the directionality, meeting with this Neptunian foggy, diffuse, sort of dreamy thing. I think Mars Neptune can be like speechwriters. I have a dream, it really rouse the masses, get people all excited and enthusiastic and warriored up in some kind of noble and transcendent way, except that this kind of thing is a square, and a square is difficult. It is not made up of niceness. It's made up of the nature of Mars, and Mars is a warrior who divides and separates and creates conflict. And what do we have? We have conflict. We have a war in Ukraine. We have conflict in the United States. There's a total civil war of a covert civil war in the United States between the Republicans and the Democrats, between the left and the right. Even in Canada, we're having that. Brothers against brothers. Mars has been in Gemini, the brothers, the twins, right? Ever since, and the neighbors really, ever since last August. And it's been intractable difficulties in getting anything to look like Russian-Ukraine solutions, right? And they are brothers. They are brothers. They live beside each other. The eastern province, part of Ukraine, and 30 to 40% of the population speaks Russian. They have a mutual shared history. Okay. Yes, there are different ethnicities. If you're in the other part of Ukraine, closer to the West, Europe, you're not ethnically Russian-ish, you're not speaking Russian. You don't have a shared history. But there's brother against brother in Ukraine. Don't please tell me I don't know anything about the war in Ukraine, okay? I don't follow the pablum. I actually do some research into it, but I'm also not an expert. I'm just trying to tell you the astrology of Mars, division, separation, conflict, and war, right? Things he does. Going through Gemini, the twins, the brothers, in arms, brothers in conflict is what we're seeing here. And now we've got this Neptune square, Neptune square, Neptune square. In United States charts, by the way, I'm going to show you the picture. Hang on. Let's do that now. Let's give you a picture of what the sky looks like. Okay? Remind me later. I don't want to update my software in the middle of a YouTube recording. All right. So there you can see this is a chart showing this Neptune 25 degrees of the sign of Pisces and Mars moving into the square next to the asteroid of chaos, which I didn't even say in the intro. So there is Mars inciting some kind of chaos, and it's a square to what has eluded, diluted, confused, fogged us over, brought uncertainty. Neptune does rule also illnesses that are caused by small things we can't see. Neptune was very active during the cholera pandemic in the 1800s when he was in Pisces, waterborne illness. You could say nebulous illnesses in general are Piscean or Neptunian things. And you can see that Neptune here is next to this little guy with his arm up. That's Hercules, the 12 labors of Hercules, what must be labored for. But also Hercules massacred his children and his wife, I believe, both his wife and children, under a spell by Hera. Then dark side of the Hercules story about the loss of a lot of life, self-induced, right? And then, of course, Minerva. Minerva here is wisdom and knowledge that shall prevail. And why will it prevail? Why will wisdom and knowledge maybe prevail despite all thoughts to the contrary about wars and illnesses and governments and pharmacies, pharmaceuticals and protocols and pandemic measures? These are things that are in the sky. It's only because this is what Neptune can be about in Pisces. Because this square is also accompanied by Saturn. Now, Saturn, for the very first time in 30 years, on March the 7th, entered into this place where Neptune has been doing all of this fogging up of the clarity. And Mars has been doing its best to cut through the fog and have us see something clearly back in October, back in November, and now March, 14th, 15th, 16th. But unfortunately, Mars, trying to do his best, still had to come through what the thick fog or the thick swell of confusion is that Neptune may have been instigating. But when Saturn arrives, which is March the 7th, and will be here for this event called the square, the last square, this is now Saturn saying, oh, no, we got this, guys. We're going to be sober, realistic, and we're going to bring something into form that will be revealed and clear, especially with the wisdom and knowledge goddess Minerva there. Saturn can be also sort of like things to do with governing bodies, like, legislation, for instance, legislative bodies, maybe panels for investigation, things like that, and bureaucracy as well. Now, also, you also have the idea here that in 2024, there will be I think it's September, but in late 2024, there will be Mars square Neptune again in the same area of the sky at the very end at 28 degrees. And then it's a done deal because Neptune's leaving the sign of Pisces, and we won't have a Mars in Gemini square, a Neptune in Pisces until 2094. So it's a big deal, right? It's something important trying to happen. Because in the United States, Gemini, where Mars is the house of open or opponents or open enemies, visible enemies. That includes China. That includes, let's say, I don't know, who else is still an enemy of the United States? Certainly includes China. In the enemy's story, so Russia, maybe some places in the Middle East the United States isn't fond of, or maybe Iran. And so these open, or North Korea. So these open enemies of the United States are going to be news cycling. Why? Because Mercury's there. I forgot to add Mercury. What kind of big news stories are breaking about this story? We'll do your sign. I promise we'll get to you. Let's put poor Mercury back in here. I let him go. We'll bring him right back. Come on, Mercury. So you see, he's ready to deliver all the news that's not fit to print as he bumps into Neptune. And then also, of course, he will bump into the sun because it will be a Cazimi. Now, if you are quite noting here, there's a lot of action going on in one place of the sky, and that place in the sky where the action is Pisces. So this whole stellium of energy with these two minor asteroids, Minerva, Hercules, Neptune, of course, a big planet, a real planet, the sun, Mercury. So the Mercury will be in the heart of the sun around 6:30 a.m. This is called a Cazimi, and that's going to be on the 17th. And so that's going to be a day, basically, that we're going to experience an incredible amount of intensity around downloads, inspirations, new reveals in our own lives, but also around the idea of the news cycle maybe breaking something through of great clarity and truth into the world. On the day of the Cazimi, maybe not, maybe after the Cazimi, but it's going to be showing up. Mercury is under the beams of the sun before that and may not be able to dispense all the news that's truly fit to print. But I would suggest that maybe after he gets through the sun and he has his powwow with the lap of the king, King Sol sits in the lap of the king and comes out Santa Claus's lap, he may have something important to say to the world. So look for breaking news stories around war and around drugs and around treatment protocols and pandemics and things to do with those themes. Not a new pandemic, by the way. That's not what I'm seeing here. Kind of cleaning up the mess from the old one. With chaos being here, it's important to note that Mars is playing with chaotic fire. I don't know what the chaos element will be, but it will likely show up after this time frame because it will likely be more as Mars comes out of that connection to Neptune around the 26th, 27th, 28th, and goes into chaos, right? You see the Mars chaos in the sky being pretty exact around the 22nd of March, 21st, 22nd. What kind of breaking chaos is happening in the world connected to events that are happening around the 13th, 14th, 15th, 16th, 17th of the month, 18th of the month of March. Now, chaos in the seventh house of open enemies in the United States could be chaos in China, chaos in Russia, chaos in, someplace that the United States considers an enemy. It may not be actually anything to do with what's going on in North America. And also, lastly, I'd say, bottom line here, the way it feels to me looking at this event, I think there's going to be a bit of a feeling of, let me get it right, of coming out of being hypnotized, of a lot of people actually coming out of some kind of fugue state or belief fugue state, or, because Mars Neptune can be zealotry. It can be drinking the Kool-Aid with Jim Jones in a cult-like setting. I mean, Mars Neptune is like masochistic, sometimes black magic or dark leader or religious insanity, like zealot, guru, bad guru, bad guru, the bad kind of the teachers who take people down really bad cliffs, over cliffs and down bad paths. All right. Now, in our modern day, we're not having an inquisition. Mars square Neptune, the Inquisition, our burning of the witches in Salem, a kind of mass psychosis it can form, a group mob think, that happens when Mars, Neptune are in a square. This is a square that's been ongoing since October, November. It really started even to be felt by us last August. And so basically, I'm not going to track the news cycle for October 12th, November 19th. You guys can do that March 14th, but very likely there were stories breaking about the Ukraine war. There were stories that were very important to what I'm trying to talk about, or to things to do with the pandemic measures, and COVID, etc. Okay, breaking news. Like, I'll give you an example now. There's more and more news about the lab leak theory coming out, and it's becoming more and more unquestionably probably true. There are still people who got their ostrich head in the sand, but the Wuhan lab leak theory is no longer a theory. Not only did a Senate Intelligence Committee determine that almost a year ago, but no one wanted to listen, but now there are breaking news stories and research whistleblowers and more, just demonstrating that, in fact, this pandemic was not coming from a bat. Now, Bill Gates just came out and tried to deny that. Bill Gates is not a scientist. And so if you don't believe that, that's fine, but you'll see something happening in the news cycle, maybe to actually slam dunk that narrative finally, or an investigatory panel coming. Another example would be all the confusion about the pipeline and the UFOs. Both of those things. I'm talking about the Nord Stream pipeline that the United States apparently blew up, according to the new Hirsch guy article in Substack, and whistleblower stuff, and of course Biden telegraphing that he was going to blow. There would be no Nord Stream pipeline if Russia invaded Ukraine, and now there's no Nord Stream pipeline. Now Germany's launching an investigation because they were the ones receiving that oil or that natural gas, and they need it because they're cold and freezing over there. Or, for example, the whole UFO spy balloon thing, whatever that was about, more clarity breaking through on that. So those are things that I would expect to see around the 17th, 18th, 19th, 20th into the news cycle that are going to be very clarifying. Mars is a defogger. He's trying to defog something that was really freaking confusing. And if you've been in a fugue, if you've been mass hypnotized, if you've been some kind of state of, I just swallow the pablum of the mainstream media and what comes down the chute because you don't believe that it's sponsored by Pfizer, or that vested interests for war machinery, the machinery of war are involved in why there's a war in Ukraine. If you haven't invested in, Lockheed Martin by now, you shoulda. You'll know that this is just not what you see is what you get. Okay, guys, it ain't what you see is what you get. So all these kinds of things will be coming to light, and some people will be in a state of I knew it, I told you so, mass participation mystique, or hypnosis, or mob think, or group think is coming to an end as a result of I believe, of this last square. It won't be easy. There will be some chaos around it, and there will certainly be some denial. And lastly, but not leastly, you can see that Pluto anoretic, 29 degrees, at the tail end, the United States is having a Pluto return. This is the end of a long 2008 era of stuff. And as Mars finishes up as well, we're going to end up with two anoretic planets at the very same time. That's important. They're not going to be in a connection to each other in our own astrology of, it's an aversion, but you can see that there is this intensity around the 22nd of March. As this is really, if I move it ahead by minutes, you'll have Mars at 29 degrees. Okay. So watch to see what happens on March 22nd with an anoretic Mars just past chaos. Pluto anoretic getting ready to move into Aquarius. I expect the cusp energy of March 22nd to be extremely chaotic and extremely intense, and disclosures of things to do with wisdom and knowledge, Minerva breaking into the news cycle. Okay, get ready for that. So now we're going to go ahead and do all signs. Now, I wanted to read a little bit about this from Ren Butler's archetypal universe. Not a lot, okay? But this is the Mars-Neptune archetypes. Spiritual and creative, not with a square, just the archetype in general. Spiritual and creative vitality, magnetic warmth and charisma, a gentle and sensitive strength, gifts of compassionate action, enlightened non-action, strange feelings of pointlessness and futility, toxic blah malaise, and comfortable inner heat, the potential for secret harmful actions. Secret harmful actions, camouflage desires, alrighty? And he will talk about the shadow qualities, which I would say a square brings out. a sense of futility and pointlessness, weakness and lack of confidence, inability to take decisive action, malaise, stalled willpower, procrastination, um, spiritual religious ambition, misguided spiritual aspirations, ego trips based on questionable or subtle healing, energetic healing, spiritual magic, strange mixtures of ego and egolessness, speak softly and carry a big stick, good old Teddy Roosevelt, the potential to confuse people, the delusion of hurting others to wake them up, impulses toward a holy war. I recovered that kind of vibe earlier. Active blaming, stealth, cunning, backstabbing, and treachery, secret harmful actions. Ooh, hidden enemies, infiltration, spooky, subtle forms of aggression, shamanic energy, voodoo, creepy or ghoulish desires. Okay, you get the gist, right? The dark side. Oh, poisoning, problems with liquids. That's that true. There's poisoning with all of this as well. And like basically there's a few stars that Mars is up on called Lunatic, Lam. These are the lucky stars of Orion's belt that Mars will be talking to basically as he goes into the square with Neptune. So Mars has got quite a lot of star power behind him as he squares away with Neptune and says, let's get this damn thing cleared up. Let's get cut through something. Mars cuts through, ends and severs, and he's cutting through illusion, delusion, participation, mystique, mass hypnosis, mass formation, psychosis, whatever is going on in the world, and also breaking the illusion or the delusion or the misinformation cycle that's been going on since about August of last year with Mars and Gemini. All right. And we're going to do through all signs, and I'm going to talk about your sign in terms of the Gemini corridor and the Pisces corridor. Now, if you're still listening to this in the live premiere with me, please hit my like button, guys. Thank you so much. And also, if you're listening to it later on, please do help me grow my channel. My goal is to reach 100,000 subscribers by the end of 2022. It's ambitious, I know, but I've gone from like 3,000 to 15 last year, and I'm still growing around now, 2,600 subscribers a month. Help me go even faster, please. Also, lastly, but leastly, you know, my description box, guys, has everything you need to know, including how to get in touch with me, have a reading, etc. You have to get on the wait list now unless you want to get booked into the fall, but I'm going to open some spots up in June, July, and August. The wait list will open in mid-May. If you're on the wait list, you can get some of the few spots I'm going to open up in the summertime. I'm not going to open up many. I'm more or less taking my summer off, worked my ass off for 5 years doing 4,000 chart readings. Okay. Lastly, you know, I'm also totally never getting when astrologers don't actually do chart readings for people and then they do astrology YouTube channels. I mean, you learn in the trenches of astrology through the clients, really, what works and what doesn't and what's true and what's not, including why I've moved to whole sign houses. I will be doing a video on that for you to share with you why I'm a zealot for the whole sign house system. Well, let's get started, okay? So we're going to start rotating the dial here. And let me go back a few days, first of all, because I'm almost at the end of the square. I'm going to leave the picture up for you today. It makes time stamping easier for my sister. I'm in my home in Vancouver, Canada. I always show you guys the view. It's kind of a dull day today. It's kind of dreary. And this is the window seat I use on my shorter videos. Yeah, it's my window seat in my home in Vancouver, Canada. My temporary home, my rental. All right, so let's get going. And remember that there is also a Cazimi on this day. I might do a webinar for that. I'm not sure yet. And that's another video. I'm going to just focus on the Cazimi itself. But for now, this is a longer, slower transit. Like starting even around March 6th, you begin to feel it building all the way through to about the 20th of March. And you're going to get this video later than March 6th, but it's really starting to heat up around the 12th, the 13th, the 14th, the 15th, the 16th. All right. Into the 18th or so. And there's a theory that Mars delivers his action after he gets done with any kind of aspectual relationship. There's a delay, and then it's not during the buildup or during the actual thing, but when he's finished it, he really brings it home. So that would imply that maybe the 17th, 18th, and 19th, a lot of the stuff really comes into, in your life personally, into form. So you're probably wondering what I'm doing. I'm just queuing my computer. And we're getting it ready to go. We're not going to start with Scorpio, no. Oh, nope, we're going to start with Aries. This is a short video, I hope. Aries, sun, moon, and rising sign in your natal sky. What you're experiencing here is you're having this confusion and illusion, fog and transcendent weird stuff of Neptune in your 12th house. Now, Neptune is about addictions and drugs and self-undoing, and addictions can be the 12th house. If you're an Aries rising, but Sun and Moon secondarily, rising most accurate, you're definitely feeling that there's this ongoing fog of confusion since 2011, and maybe self-undoing and addictions, escapism, basically, Neptune has been playing a role, but it also could have been bringing on enlightenment or channeling things since 2011. I'm an Aries Sun. My first awakening was 2011. My second spiritual awakening was 2018. So you got some enlightenment there. As this Pisces thing is happening with the square to Mars, the last one, don't forget, October, November, now here we are in March, the last salvo, Saturn lording over it up here in the 12th house. Quite possibly you're looking at something that suggests that you are going to have a breakthrough or a radical shift regarding your 12th house, third house axis. Now, a lot of things that can mean, because Mars may have helped you revise your website, change your social media strategy in your third house, change your neighborhood, have a fight with a sibling, or break a reconciliation at this point with a sibling, have a change of direction with something you're teaching or writing, or be motivated and directional around these things. And you are coming into this critical turning point of the last one, March, 14th, 15th, 16th, 17th, as Mars is going to be in that square to Neptune. And this Mars-Neptune square is going to kind of complete something that's been a longer story. Now, trips and travel can be third house, and Mars can be all about those journeys. Be careful for accidents anytime Mars is in the third house when you're driving your car, just so you know. But for the most part, this square could say something like, I'm changing my direction and I know which momentum way I'm going to go. I'm no longer confused about my website development, about the class I want to teach, about the trip I want to take, about the sibling thing I want to get going, especially if it's a younger sibling. Foreign lands and foreign shores can be the 12th house. Trips and travel can be the third. Some of you may be making a travel plan and settling into a solid travel plan as this is occurring, where you're going to figure out where and how you're going to go somewhere finally, and getting everything organized and making decisions around that. And if you have anything going on to do with revenue from foreign shores, through your international barter and trade, therefore PayPal, Stripe, etc., this can be a breakthrough energy on this front as well. I think for some people, just at a very mundane level, for me, like as an Aries Sun and Moon, I've been trying to figure out when I'm going to launch my third iteration of Sky Reader. At first it was February, then it was March. I just said not in the mood, and my Lord Saturn has been combusted, so that doesn't work either. But I think it's going to be April now. So you're all there's 160 people maybe on my wait list, maybe. So when you get that email from me, please sign up right away. I don't think I'll be taking 160 of you. I need to manage the room I don't have a staff or anything, but the idea is that class will be starting soon in the spring. Moving so that Mars can give me that focal point of get ready, set, go. Not enough backtracking, enough confusion. Third house website teaching. That's one example. Just using me as an example. Taurus, Sun, Moon, and rising sign. If you're a Taurus, this is a story where, this is a good spirit house. The 11th house in the top of the sky is where good things happen. Fairy godfathers are here. Hopes, dreams, and wishes are here. Neptune has been giving you some fantastical visions and wishes and dreams since 2011 for how you, Taurus, would like your life to be seen and how you wish to envision it. And yet, now Saturn is here and he's making you very realistic about these longer goals and dreams. You're no longer the idealist or the daydream believer. You're really getting serious about those things and wondering how to make your formless ideas and dreams into form in a practical way. Now, with the square from Mars, don't forget this was last October 12th, November 19th, and now again, let's say November 14th, 15th, 16th, 17th, finishing up. Mars is going to have to understand that this is not the same old. Not only is he fast moving and direct, but he's also got Saturn over there telling Neptune to get down with reality. So where do you have to be realistic about some of your dreams and goals and wishes, and also at the same time give it them form? And Mars says in a financial solvent way that is in alignment with your earnings and possessions and resources. I mean, Mars is saying it's about the money, honey, and there's a little chaos in your money right now. I don't doubt that, because Mars is connecting to the god of chaos. If you're not having money chaos here, Taurus rising especially, Sun and Moon secondarily, I'm surprised. My daughter just said, Mom, I don't have no money left. You have to help me out. I'm like, okay, Taurus Sun, that's just happening now. And we're not even there yet. Also, if you have any friends who an elder sibling, or friends and allies who could be in this story. You could get some kind of breakthrough financially, sort of regarding your money stories, with a favor from a friend or some support or guidance from an elder sibling or friends. But it's also square. So there's tension here, right? It's not easy. It's like there may be arguing or tension between you and these friends or allies, benefactors or older sibling, but you're trying to get through something, to move in a new direction, to have willpower, like that new moon Sabian on Neptune, to find a new way to get into a new beginning, new projects, new directions. As this is also your 11th house, the great gains from your career, if they've been stalled out or just not consistent or foggy or unsure, Saturn is trying to give you great gains in your career path from the 10th. And Mars is giving you new directions, maybe around how to make money or how to create greater career gains in your story. Oh, and Mars can eliminate foods that don't work for you when he's going through your second house, especially substances you may ingest. And this is also another story to pay attention to. Gemini, sun, moon, and rising sign. Well, I have a progressed sun in Gemini. You guys are experiencing Mars in the house of you. You've been like not suffering fools gladly, right? Ever since last August when Mars got here. And you've been acting more decisive, I hope, less fickle, more sure-footed, more physically active maybe, and just like hopefully you didn't cut or burn or hurt yourself too. But a lot of people could get injured with Mars spending 7 months in the house of their body. But here you are, and you're all Martian now. You got your sword going, you're figuring it out. And now you're going to take decisive directional steps and willpower, direction, decisions, and momentum. These are your superpowers as you're stepping forward, yes, into the face of some chaos. Well, who can't take a little chaos every now and then? And with chaos by your side, you're stepping forward. How about a little chaos magic as you make some changes in your career? Now, we say career as a 10th house because it's your visible action in the world where Neptune is sitting. It's, something you've been trying to do since October 12th, November 19th, and March 14th. If you're thinking back, you might have seen some twists and turns in the narrative. You were going forward in one direction, then in November, you were turning backwards because you were confused, and now you're going to go forward again regarding career matters, reputation matters, etc. Now, your status in the world, like unmarried, widows, divorced, and separated, can belong to the 10th house. And those status markers can be changing as well. And you're making decisions, Mars, about your ultimate status in the world regarding some of those statuses, especially marriage, because Mars is opposite the marriage house right now. And you might be deciding it's time to don't get a divorce. It's time to separate, or it's time to make it work out, or come together, whichever way. Some of you may be going through that as well. There are breakups here for some of you. There's no doubt about it. Just because the square to Neptune and the opposition to the 7th house, some of you may be making decisive moves away from somebody as this is progressing into your life, or you may be, already knew that you're going to separate. Now you're just finalizing something. But that back and forth energy is there, forward in October, backward in November, forward in March, in some career or relationship idea thing as well. Mars moving forward for you is really, really a good thing in many, many ways, because as he does finally get forward, he does allow his natural mojo to help you get better gains financially from your career, because he's the owner of your 11th house. So he's moving quickly forward now, and he will help you generate greater gains from your career, particularly the last week of May through to the middle of July. But I'm not going to go into why at this point, but trust me. So things that are cutting away from the career, changing your job, cutting out, changing your relationship status or something, these are all in play as Mars is going to be making big changes for you. And you are the agent of change. You're the one with the sword. You're the one with the decisions. You're the one with the action plan. No one's doing this to you. Okay. You are making these decisions. You are taking these actions. Cancer, sun, moon, rising sign. Well, you can definitely see here that you are looking at something going on with Mars in your 12th house and Neptune in your 9th. Both are metacosmos, or above or between, beyond these worlds' houses. They're often very subtle, the 12th particularly so. Because you can't see it, it's an aversion to you, as you are a Cancer and it's the house next door. Well, Mars here can be cutting through your own addictions and self-undoing and your own delusions about your life, your own sabotagingness around your story. Mars here can also be, helping you move towards greater action in order to generate revenue and income from foreign shores and lands. And as he's going forward, go back to October, forward, then November backwards, now March forward again. Try to figure out where you went backwards in some area of your life, because now you're going to go forward and have new momentum. Sometimes ninth house is learning, education, universities, college campuses, spiritual belief and philosophy, book publishing, father figures, third marriages. These are areas that are involved in this back and forth momentum. For some of you, this definitely can look like planning a trip, taking a trip abroad, a foreign land trip could be in the works, but you've been hesitating, wobbling all over, and now March, you're going to start to move forward and make some changes there. And if you want to take a course and be tutored or learn from somebody in the ninth house, this is a longer type of course. This is like a mentorship or several months or weeks at the very least. And you may, in fact, get that off the ground as a result of Mars finally moving forward, squaring and clearing the fog, the illusion, and allowing you to start off in new directions in the ninth house. And this is good for backroom deals and negotiations for book publishing and contracts around books, working on your behalf, moving forward quickly. There's a bit of chaos in the air. Things may seem a little uncertain, but ultimately, though, things may start to move forward. So chaos meaning that one book contract falls apart, but then a better one will come in. Two crows sitting on the roof across the street from me. How interesting is that? All righty, moving into your next sign. I might have to get some water, though. Will I get up and get some water? I think I will. Hang on. So I'm going to go get some water because I have to drink water. And if you're still with me in the live premiere, please hit my like button. Subscribe if you're not. If you're new to my channel, give me a try, would you? And hit the bell for a notification, little bell, because when I do my live premieres, you can come in and win prizes. I've given away so many prizes. I've given away like maybe about 30 different readings and or course prizes for free over the last 3 or 4 months. If that interests you at all, a chance to win something, if you need to, have a session or something like that, and you don't have the money, you could maybe win. But if you don't hit your notification bell or join my Cosmic Moonshine newsletter, because they always know about my contests ahead of you guys, even sometimes here on YouTube, you're definitely going to benefit from that. So now I'm going to grab the water and then I'll be right back. Am I going to pause? I think I better pause that button. All right, I got the water. I'm back. Let's get going. Talk about the next sign, which will be who's up next on this Price is Right. Right, and I can't see the chart. I bet you guys can. Okay, so Leo, Sun, Moon, and Rising. So we have Pisces stories going on in your 8th house of shared resources with your spouse, money from business partnerships. You know the drill, right, guys? Taxes, investments in the stock market, inheritances, insurance payouts, etc. Unearned income. And this has been a confusing place for you since 2011. Like maybe your spouse doesn't tell you how much money they have. Maybe they lie about their money. Maybe your business partner's been unethical. Maybe you're confused about your stock portfolio. And now your stockbroker's shady. Anyway, or whatever. And now this, or occult mysteries, with Neptune here, you've learned to channel, you learned to trans-state out, do shamanic journeys. You've been like diving into the mystical, magical, paranormal since 2011, Leo, Sun, Moon, and Rising. Now, this area that October you went forward, November you went backward, now March you're going to go forward. That's that Mars square and the retrograde square Neptune. Here, it's in your 11th house and all the square actions happening. And your 11th house is a house of good spirit. This is where you get like a lot of good stuff happening. It's a lucky house. And yet Mars has been going through here, paring away, cutting away, severing, maybe ending some of your dreams and wishes and hopes for your life, maybe cutting some friendships out of your life, or, maybe some friends exiting your life, maybe a new change of direction and the gains from your career as you change your focus in your career. And as Mars has been doing this forward in October, retrograde in November, it's definitely a money story because you have money gains in the career from the career in the 11th. You have the other kind of money in the 8th. So a lot of money stuff has been going on for a lot of Leo rising, but sometimes Sun and Moon. Taxes belong to the 8th house. And I made a joke a few times about, are you having issues trying to figure out how to handle your taxes based on your income for some reason, or trying to hide money from the tax man? And then, as Mars goes into chaos a little bit here, which is not always easy, right? Chaos is chaos. What is really happening? I think Mars hitting chaos can definitely be a signal that there's some kind of turbulence coming closer to the later part of the story, maybe around the 18th to the 20th. But before the chaos hits and all of that, Saturn is saying to Neptune, let's get real and let's get sober and let's get realistic about the money stories that go on in your 8th house. And this can be some breaking through around shared resources with a spouse, alimony, palimony, spousal support, shared resources that you need to divide up. Mars divides things. And you may be on the final division path with a end of a relationship, or cutting away from a business partnership that's not working for your career, or, the fight for the inheritance is coming to an end, or things like that. Finally, there may be an elder sibling or a friend who's an ally who's likely male, because of Mars is a male, men. Remember those things called men, but masculine, but also just male. And sorry to be facetious, but so women have a uterus, men have the vas deferens. Bottom line is that Mars is basically maybe a male figure who is going to be propelling some forward momentum in your money story. And that could be positive, actually, even if it's a square, because then Mars is moving quickly and fast and furiously forward and clearing some confusion about your money and shared monies with others. Okay. So maybe some assist from an elder sibling or a friend. Virgo, sun, moon, rising sign. Well, this is a story about your marriage house, guys. This is like you got Saturn there. Oh, next 3 years, Saturn can really build a new foundation in an existing relationship, or kick the tires and say, we have to throw this car to the junkyard, because bottom line is Saturn will say it's got to get real. It's got to get realistic. It's got to get serious. It's almost like the arranged marriage energy. If you're single, it can bring a very serious long-term partnership in, but maybe someone older by 7 years or younger by 7 years. Anyway, either way, this is a Saturn transit. Saturn stabilizing it, your relationship, or Saturn ending it. I don't know, but it's intense. And so this significant other story is very highlighted. Go back to October going forward, November going backwards, and March going forward in a significant other relationship, but as it pertains to tensions coming from your career or work or reputation space. So what has Mars been doing? Back and forth, back and forth. Is it like hubby or wife says, you're never home anymore, you're working too hard, you've been, killing it at work, then you pull back a little in November, take some time off, but you realize you can't, and you go back to work. I don't know. But you could also be having conflict about somebody or something in your workspace, and it's full of chaos, as the Virgo rising. And that could also be playing out and infecting your relationships with your clients, your audience, your marketplace, or your significant other or business partners. 7th house. Mars can change your career path, help you change your job, get you fired, get someone in the workplace fired. If somebody needs to get fired for you to have a better life with your significant other, or the way you reach out to your audience and clients, then that can happen, especially as Mars is going to be moving forward quickly. And he's in that final square to Neptune. I don't know, with Minerva there, the goddess of knowledge and wisdom, there's almost an attempt by the sky to bring a deeper knowledge, wisdom, sensibility to how you handle, in a realistic way, significant relationships in your life, Virgo. And anything like Neptune here can bring you the idea you got your twin flame, your soulmate, but it's all confusing, and it's all a delusion. And I've been talking about this a long time for Virgo rising, since 2011. A lot of you could have got involved with people with mental illnesses, narcissistic personality disorder or something, like my daughter did, or addictions. All right. And now this is changing, because Saturn's here. Saturn's like a cold shower. It's a cold shower, man, because it's water, right? It's Pisces. It's like a freaking cold shower, dousing your delusion, fantasy about what kind of person you are with. And no longer can you possibly fall over the next 3 years for somebody who isn't your person. And Neptune leaves there in 26 anyway, 2026. But you're definitely looking at a time until February 2026, where Neptune has gotten you pretty sober-minded about the kinds of people and relationships and clients you're willing to have in your life. I'm a little concerned about the chaos of Mars in the workplace. So look for a little bit of chaotic turbulence as Mars clashes with the chaos energy that's going to be happening closer to, like, let's say the 22nd, I'd say the 18th to the 22nd of the month. So some chaos in the workspace or career space is possible here as well. But ultimately, this is Mars's last pass. So he's trying to finish strong, like a marathon racer of change in your career space. Something will just change your job. Alrighty. Libra, sun, moon, but most accurate as always, rising sign. When you tell me that your rising sign is less accurate than your sun sign, then I'm going to suggest look for the Lord, the planetary Lord of your rising sign, which for Libra would be Venus, and see if Venus is in the 12th house, the 8th house, or the 6th house, sometimes even the second, and you may not feel like your rising sign because your Lord is in aversion, but possibly there are other reasons as well. So as we go through this time, Libra, sun, moon, and rising sign, you're going to have the last of what was an October, November, and March story. October forward, Mars pulls back. November, you pull back, and March, you pull forward. It's something to do with work and health, and tenants and tenancies and pets. Okay? And debts you may hold, or others may owe you money. And dating sometimes, the sixth house. So all of this stuff has been forward, and then October and pulling back in November and going forward again in March. Wanted to buy a pet, changed your mind, going to get a pet. Going to rent that place out, didn't work out, going to go forward. Going to pay off the debt, didn't, going to go forward. Going to date that person, didn't, now you're going to go forward. So that's kind of simple, right? Because Mars is a god of choice and action and decisions from the ninth house, which can involve foreign lands travel, academics, book publishing. There's also back and forth between things in that area of your life. And have you possibly been in some kind of confusion about a book you want to write or publish, about things you want to do academically, about the possibility of moving or changing your country, moving to a foreign land, even just traveling to a foreign land? These are things that are highly active. And as this Mars has been going through this long journey through your ninth house, some of you may have had conflict with father figures or legal battles and been enmeshed in legal struggle as well. Certainly, though, things can resolve as Mars is going to go direct, although look for a little chaotic turbulence in that ninth house as well. But I do feel that the chaos is also a good chaos sometimes here. You know, it's a house of God, divine chaos, and the divine chaos. And how is it going to help you in a swirl of chaotic energies get more clarity, decisive, directional momentum, and willpower and initiative to finally take that trip to a foreign land, move to that other country, get that book published, agent, publisher, whatever you need to do, and also to pay off debt and get your ducks in a row regarding pets and tenancies. All right, things like that. And, you know, my feeling here with the Saturn coming into the sixth house for you, it's going to stabilize health problems for a lot of you. I mean, Saturn here is funny. It can create health challenges, but usually it also helps you find long lasting solutions to health challenges as well. And then, you know, ones that will go the distance. But any nebulous, uncertain, confusing health challenges you've had, now they're going to be given solid, tangible, clear directional form where you can see what you need to do. And some of you may need to go off to an ashram or another country to solve the health challenges because of the ninth house activation. Scorpio, sun, moon, and rising. I gotta get my window seat comfy. Somebody made a funny comment in my last video about creepy posturing, and I didn't know if they meant because I kept doing my knee was up or whatever, because I'm sitting on a window bench without any kind of support. And so whatever, I don't know if that was what they meant, but I pinned the comment because it was so weird and they never got back to me. More comments under the comment. That comment got ratioed. I'm like, what do you mean creepy posture? I wasn't doing this. Maybe she meant my backdrop, you know, with the Aries thing. That's not posturing. That was a backdrop of the Aries ram's horns. Creepy posturing. Oh my God. So, yes, I'm no longer trolling the trolls, really. I'm giving up. Scorpio, sun, moon, and rising sign especially. Your romantic life and your sexual life may have been a bit confused since 2011, and having babies and fertility as well. Saturn is here to bring real tangible results here and to also help you make your creative projects, your art ideas, your music, your songs, your writing into books, albums, tangible form. Bring your dreams, your creative artistic dreams to reality, even your business enterprise, entrepreneurial spirit, visions and dreams into reality. As Saturn is going through this part of your sky, but with that Mars square ongoing directly through and forward momentum in October and backward again in November, now forward in March. Where were you going forward in October that you pulled back in November, and now you're going to go forward again? Regarding sexuality and romantic stuff, regarding your children and fertility, regarding your creativity, your entrepreneurship, your joy and your fun in life, including leisure travel. I mean, it can be something as simple as, I was going to take a leisure trip in October. I changed my mind in November, and now I'm going to go again. All systems go. Now, with the Neptune energy here, Your creativity is highly, highly aroused. You're very trancy. Your imagination is high. Your visionary spirit is good. Like this is very good for muse-driven people. If you're a Scorpio artist type person, what a wonderful transit. You got to harness it. With Saturn now, finally, some of that power you have will come into form and be very tangible and have good results. But Mars moving into your 8th house here, like last August, could have caused conflict with your spouse or business partners about money that you share jointly. It can also look like debates and fighting over how to separate the assets out between you and your partner, or business and love, and fighting over who gets what, or having conflict about inheritances even. Neptune here is also causing confusion from the house of children and the house maybe of your significant partner if it's considered to be like a very romantic lover type relationship. And Mars does exalt your house of romance, and he's been having disputes over shared resources. So there could be some pretty intense energy there with your partner. I do feel like, however, that mostly what Mars is going to do is help you move forward in good directions regarding business money and money, luck, and speculation, including stock investments that could be quite successful if you took a chance. But you're waiting for Mars's forward momentum and waning square with Neptune to make those decisions, because now the fog will have cleared. You might know the perfect stock investment. Suddenly you see the light, you know what to get, that kind of thing. I'm looking at the book that belongs to Liz Green, and I think the publisher is Wiser, and they have an Ankh as their symbol. I didn't know that. Anyway, sidebar. Distraction. I'm so distracted. Anyway, anything else? If you wanted to have a kid and you haven't done it and you've been confused, Saturn here is a bit of an interesting placement, because Saturn is like heavy energy and slow moving and kind of like steady as she goes. And certainly you could plan for a child. That could be like planning for a pregnancy. It's not getting accidentally pregnant. It's like, let's sit down and let's do a pro-con list. Let's look at our calendars, honey, over the next 3 years, decide when a pregnancy would be a good idea. That's what that might look like for some of you. Okay. Sagittarius, sun, moon, rising. In your sky, you've got this energy of the stellium in the sign of Pisces. And this Pisces stellium in your 4th house is all about your home, your private life. And this is the energy that's being squared by Mars in your house of significant other. Some of you have had conflicts with your marriage partner or your significant business partner regarding, or like say significant other, it doesn't have to be marriage, regarding things to do with the home life. Now Saturn is squaring away to stabilize, but also some of you will find home life hard. You might feel alone. You might have an old person come live with you and have to take care of them over the next 3 years. And so, but there's a sober, heavy, more reliable energy regarding the home. And Mars, this square to Mars could be like a conflict with somebody that you're with regarding the home. Like you want to move, they don't. You want a new home, they don't. They want to leave the home, you're holding on to them. Anyway, this is October 12th. What was going on in those themes with significant other and your home, and then what's going on November 19th, and then you pulled back or you decided to take a breather on some conflict, and then with your significant business or marriage partner, and then now you're going back and making final decisions here, or they're making final decisions, since the decision-making God is in the house of your partner. There's a little chaos here. I mean, watch out for the chaos energy, because around the 18th to the 22nd, we have the asteroid Chaos traveling with Mars and coming into the anaretic degree of your 7th house. So there's going to be a big chaos bomb in your marriage or your partnerships, business or otherwise, is coming in that era of time, that rough time this month of March. But finding that sort of clarity of the Cazimi on the 17th, that might show you the way to go when it comes to this disputing vibe between significant people in your life and things you wish to do in your home, from your home, or where you actually just want to live, especially if your floating IC is in your Pisces 4th house. And that depends, of course, that would happen. The floating IC would be there. If you are using whole sign houses, you have to know where your IC floats and your MC floats. Okay. Yes, I think whole sign houses are the bomb, and I'm going to do a whole video on why, if you're not using whole sign houses, you're missing the whole point of astrology. Stay tuned for that video coming up soon. I'm going to start doing a lot of teaching videos, including some shorts. I'm just trying to get myself organized. Capricorn, sun, moon, and rising sign. So Cappies, what's going on? What's going on? What's going on? You're having some stuff going on here because Pluto's anaretic in the house of you. I have to start there because that's why I left Pluto there. I just wanted you guys to see that. Pluto anaretic in the house of you. Pluto's leaving on the 23rd of the month of 24th on the month of March, but this is an intense energy. You're feeling this sort of like almost like, I don't know, you either feel like a super powered mafia don boss, or you're feeling this intensity within you that you don't know how to contain. And you could be rashly, intensely, passionately, radically intense right now. You are intense Capricorn rising, especially Sun and Moon secondarily. And you may feel on the edge of your own seat. And you're trying to get through this energy because it's a lot. And then, especially for the later ascendants in Cap or Sun and Moons, with your Sun, Moon, or rising in the last 25 to 29 degrees of Capricorn, but all Capricorns feel it. And, you know, it's the end of a long story, right? It started in 2008. You're coming to the close of a Pluto transformation of you. And here we have this Mars square. October was going forward. Then you pulled back in November. Now you're going forward in March. What was going back, forth, and back and forth regarding things to do with your local neighborhood, your online world, your siblings, your journeys, your trips, and your travel, and potentially moving to a new place if your floating IC is in the third house. And Mars in the house of pets, tenancies, rentals, you know, properties, work and health, routines. And some of you have had surgeries with Mars here since last August. I know a lot of Capricorns who've had surgeries, usually elective. And also Mars is in his joy here. So he's really trying his best in the sixth house placement for you to bring you the best outcomes with your pets, with your tenancies, with your debt removal, debt relief, with your work and health routines, with a dating situation. Some of you might have started dating in October, quit the dating in November, now going back into the dating world with a specific person or just in general. Mars can definitely be looking at things to do with trips and travel as he is squaring Neptune here. And so what journey is now going to maybe move forward, but there's a bit of chaos. So be cautious because with the chaos energy being active, like let's say the 17th to the 22nd of the month, Mars on chaos in your sixth house, you may think it's all going to work out. You've got the perfect pet, the perfect rental, the perfect tenancies, and all of a sudden some chaos can hit. But the good news is on the 17th, the Cazimi is trying to dispel any kind of confusion and bring you good news around the ideal place to rent in some neighborhood, for example, or the ideal dating situation from an online dating app, or the next best thing to do with your website so that your work routines are smooth. You know, those are the stories of Mars and Neptune in this story. Okay. Alrighty, Aquarius. I'm one of you. I'm Aquarius rising. Now, we are having the experience, thank God, of Saturn getting out of our house, of us, and moving into the second house. Saturn is our Lord. We don't mind him as much as other people. And in fact, now we felt old, we felt more tired, we felt more sober, we felt more disciplined, we had heavier shoulders than usual. Most people who are rising sign Aquarius can relate to 3 years of Saturn in the house of us. But we've also grown up, and we're now adopting a new, more powerful and realistic view of our lives that also aligns us with the potential over the next 3 years to greater earnings, money, and wealth in our lives through saving, being conservative, being steady, reliable, perseverant, and smart, and using our Saturnian wiles to create new structures for money. Okay? That aside, right now, Mars has been squaring Neptune from the second house of money, voice, vocation, earnings. First of all, Neptune in our second house has made us very fogged out since 2011 about our earning strategies. We've had a lot of confusion, sometimes fancy delusions. I mean, I don't know how much money I spent on things like Marie Forleo and other, online branding marketing courses, only to go at the end of the day, none of it really mattered. And getting the clickbait of the, get rich quick stuff. Oh my God, I should just wait till Saturn got there with Neptune in the second house of earnings and resources to square away what was realistic or not. So, you may have had some fog around your earning strategies since 2011, or been beholden to try to make money in deeply spiritually meaningful and magical ways. And now here we have this Mars square. Now, here's the thing. Go back to October. What were you going forward in from the house of romance, children, leisure, travel? This is your independent business enterprise, fifth house, and things to do with the second house of money, earnings, situations, voice, vocation, calling. I had a situation where I was moving forward in a relationship, or thought I might try to move forward in a relationship, then pulled it back in November, and then now I'm going forward in another relationship. Some of it involves some concern around stories that are second house, really to do with money stuff to do with my money, somebody else's money stories. So I can see how that played out for me. But also your children are the fifth house. And so what ways have your children, situations with your children gone forward, backwards, forward in October, backwards in November, and forward again in March? And how has that back and forth, been confusing and hard? But now you've got a sober, realistic view on how your resources, your money, your situation with your finances and a sibling and a child could be, or a lover could be moving forward in a positive way. There's a little bit of chaos here. I don't know that chaos is always a bad thing, but Mars will bump into the asteroid chaos, let's say between the 18th and the 22nd. So you guys some chaos with a child, chaos with a lover, chaos with your business enterprise, independent business around that time. But it's also squaring Neptune to clear the fog, especially around the 17th, which is St. Patrick's Day. You may have some kind of really interesting and good news or ideas about how you can generate greater resourcefulness in your independent business enterprise with your children through also your creativity, and maybe also connected to the word a lover or romantic partner. You're looking for knowledge and wisdom about how to do the money story better, Minerva and Neptune, in a way that's deeply spiritually meaningful to you as an Aquarius rising. And Saturn says, and it's going to be realistic, like of all things, you can do this, but it has to be realistic. All right. If you want to take a leisure trip, and Mars is finally going direct, any leisure travel could be sanctioned by this momentum, and you might find that there's a new breakthrough opportunity to take a trip that's not too expensive because the second house is being squared here, and it's realistic to do so. There's examples. I feel like I'm forgetting something for you guys. I really do. Oh well, that's all I can come up with on the fly. All right, Pisces, and maybe I should have started with you. This whole thing's happening in the house of you. You are getting stelliumed out here. And what does that mean? It means that the Neptune and the Sun and Mercury and Saturn are all in your house here in March. And this is your body, your identity. This is your sense of self. If it's your Sun, it can be about your Pisces Sun. It's your career, your Pisces Moon, about your mom, your dad, your emotional safety needs, your home. Your Sun could be dad figures, and your purpose and career. But your rising sign is all about you. So in that regard, you've been confused about yourself with Neptune going through the house of you ever since 2011, but you've also been deeply mystical, engaged in enlightenment and transcendence and figuring out your own spiritual truth. And now you've got this Saturn coming in to say, over the next 3 years, let's be real, let's be realistic, let's be serious, let's get on with like a real reliable way to make your dreamy, mystical self practical and effective in your life, in your health, and in the world. So Mars has been dicking around in your fourth house of property, land, and real estate, home, legacy, wealth, house of the mother. October 12th, he was going forward, but he backtracked and pulled the plug and went backwards in November around the 19th. And now he's going forward again. This could be a waffling back and forth around construction in the home, change of home, renovation of the home, changing of the home. There is a mosquito outside my window. At what time of year in Vancouver? You have got to be effing kidding me. Yep. March. Okay. That's construction next door with standing piles of water, I bet. Anyway, and what ways do you need to look at moving forward now? There's a bit of chaos here. Be careful for the chaos regarding chaos in the home, chaos at home, chaos about situations to do with where you want to live. That chaos is maybe the 18th to the 22nd, but I do like the St. Patty's Day Cazimi that says a brilliant bit of insight, ideas, or clarity coming to you directly, because it's Cazimi in the house of you, a divine download arriving right into the house of you, your doorstep. It's for you. It's like the god cat bringing a dead bird to you, but it's full of great insight. Yes, that's around the 17th of the month. And that Cazimi with a now forward moving Mars in a last square, waning square to Neptune, can simply mean You've cleared the fog about something that confused you. You were the one who was confused, or you were the one that was unsure or uncertain. Now you're seeing the light. You're seeing clearly. You're being realistic. You got a real no nonsense, supervising Saturn going, this is the no nonsense response to the situation. And it may involve things to do with legacy, wealth, inheritances with your spouse, or family situations to do with property. And you're just making some bold declarative clarity happen here. And that's about it. I mean, if you've had any conflict in the home, I wouldn't be surprised. Or, people, oh, I'm not fighting, we're not fighting with my partner. Well, is it stalemate-y? Is it cold shoulder? Is it distant? Because the Mars just severs and cuts things. But he can also be kind of like, the cool distance of the silent treatment, So whatever, what's been going on in your home life with people you live with, as Mars has been going through here since last August. And now it's a breaking through and a change of direction as that last square to Neptune. You're no longer confused. You're, my partner's a narcissist. I'm not going to do this anymore. Or, holy man, I can't stay in this house. It's full of mold. I'm moving out. Or, oh my God, that's the direction for the renovation. We need to have 2 bedrooms, not 1. So these are new stories emerging in your chart regarding the home story. I don't know. There is a bit of chaos in the home, so be careful around that time of the 17th, 18th, 19th, 2020. Well, I say the 18th and the 22nd. If there is chaos in the house, what can you do? There's nothing you can do to change it. It just is what it is. Like you're ultimately looking to break through to some deep knowledge and wisdom because of the Minerva piece on the Cazimi. So, you are the holder of the wisdom and the knowledge, Pisces. It's not going to be given to you because you read a book or someone comes in and to intervene. You have to access that well of your own wisdom, your own understanding, your own knowledge on this time frame, so that there can be some clear forward direction, because some of you will move to a new home because of this. And this is a critical turning point, March 14th, 15th, 16th, 17th, 18th, 19th, 20th, around big changes in that area of your life, in your home or where you live itself. Okay, hopefully that is useful and helpful to you. And if you're still in the premiere and you haven't hit my like button, I forgot to remind you guys all the way through, please hit my like button, please subscribe, hit the bell for notifications. You know the drill. And when you do all that, it helps the channel grow. Check my description box for everything I'm offering you. And I'm going to now go take a nice long walk in Vancouver, Canada. It's still as dreary as it was when I started this video, but it's at least not raining, because it does rain here a lot. And I want to go take a nice long walk, decompress, and maybe buy some lamb to go with my Greek salad for dinner. Yes, I'm in a lamb mood. Have a wonderful day, everybody. I hope that you enjoyed that and that this was helpful for you. And I look forward to seeing you in my next video. And check out my description. Oh, you know what? I have a playlist for 2023 called The Big Transits. Go check it out. Coming out just before this video will be my deep dive into the Pluto and Aquarius, and it's going to go really deep into a lot of good stuff. And I did one also in December. So there's 2 Saturn videos, there's 2 Pluto videos. If this kind of epochal game-changing shifts are of interest to you, you really want to check those videos out. It's a deep dive for all signs as well as for the collective. Thank you for listening, and I'm so happy that I'm here with you on YouTube. I'm enjoying this. I love making videos for you guys. I hope my happiness and joy of creating content is tangible for you. Ciao, ciao.